a little boy begged his parents for one small piece of freedom. He wanted to walk to his school bus stop by himself, just a block and a half from his front door. After much pleading, they finally said yes. He stepped out into a bright spring morning, and he was never seen again. That short walk became one of the most haunting mysteries in American history, a case that terrified a city, changed how a nation protects its children, and stayed unsolved for more than 30 years. The boy was Etan Patz, and he was 6 years old. On the morning of May 25, 1979, he left his family's apartment on Prince Street in the SoHo neighborhood of Lower Manhattan. It was the Friday heading into a holiday weekend, and Etan was thrilled, because for the very first time his parents had agreed to let him make the short walk alone. He set off toward the bus stop, a block and a half away, carrying $1 so he could buy a soda to go with his lunch. He was a striking little figure that morning. Etan wore a black pilot-style cap with the words "Future Flight Captain" on it, a blue corduroy jacket, blue jeans, and blue sneakers with bright stripes. His father was a professional photographer, so there were many clear, beautiful pictures of the boy, images that would soon become some of the most recognized photographs in the country. Etan walked off down the street toward the bus stop, and somewhere along that tiny stretch of sidewalk, he disappeared. The most chilling part is how long it took anyone to realize something was wrong. Etan never made it onto the school bus, and he never arrived at his classroom. But in an era before instant phone calls between parents and schools, no alarm was raised during the day. It was not until that evening, when Etan failed to come home, that his mother realized he was missing. By then, precious hours had slipped away, and the trail was already going cold. A frantic search began, but the boy had simply vanished into thin air. What followed was one of the largest and most desperate manhunts the city had ever seen. Police poured thousands of hours into the search. Officers combed the neighborhood block by block. Divers plunged into the East River chasing a tip from a psychic. Leads were followed as far away as other countries. Etan's face was everywhere, plastered across the city on flyers and posters. The whole of New York seemed to hold its breath, praying the little boy in the pilot cap would be found alive. But day after day, there was nothing. As weeks turned into months and then years, the case became a national obsession and a national heartbreak. With no body, no clear suspect, and no answers, Etan's parents were trapped in an unbearable limbo. His father became the public face of the search, refusing to let his son be forgotten. He kept the same phone number for decades, hoping that whoever took his boy might one day call. The aching uncertainty stretched on and on, with no end in sight. For many years, investigators believed they had their man, and his name was Jose Ramos. Ramos was a convicted child abuser who had a connection to the Patz family, through a relationship with a woman who had been hired to help walk Etan home from school. He became the prime suspect, and detectives focused on him for years. He even admitted to encountering a young boy who could have been Etan around the time the child vanished. But there was never enough to charge him in the case, and the investigation into him eventually stalled out. The Patz family did manage one measure of justice against Ramos. In a civil lawsuit, a court found him responsible for Etan's death by default, since he would not properly answer the claims. But it was a hollow victory. Ramos was never criminally charged with harming Etan, and he spent his prison years on entirely separate abuse convictions before being released. For decades, the question of who took Etan, and what truly happened on that walk, remained an open wound with no real answer. Then, more than 3 decades after the boy vanished, a stunning break finally came. In 2012, investigators dug up a basement near where Etan disappeared, chasing a fresh lead. Though that dig found nothing, the wave of news coverage it created prompted someone to call police with a tip. They pointed to a man named Pedro Hernandez, who back in 1979 had been an 18-year-old clerk working at a small corner store, a bodega, right near Etan's bus stop. The tipster said Hernandez had spoken, years earlier, about having killed a child. When police questioned Hernandez, he confessed. He told them that on that morning he had seen the young boy and offered him a soda to come into the store. He led Etan down into the basement of the bodega. There, he said, something came over him, and he attacked the child and choked him. He then placed the boy's small body into a bag, put the bag inside a box, and left it around the corner with the trash. The body was never recovered, and no one ever saw Etan again. Hernandez said he then simply went back upstairs and finished his work shift. It seemed, at last, like an answer. But almost immediately, serious doubts emerged that split the case in two. Hernandez was a deeply troubled man, with a documented mental illness that could cause hallucinations and an intelligence level near the edge of disability. His lawyers argued fiercely that his confession was false, the product of a fragile mind worn down during many hours of questioning. They pointed out that there was no body, no physical evidence, and no clear motive, and that some details of his story did not match the known facts. To them, a vulnerable man had been led to confess to a crime he did not commit. The legal battle was long and bitter. A first trial ended with a jury unable to agree, deadlocked by a single holdout who doubted his guilt. A second trial reached a different result, and Hernandez was convicted of kidnapping and murder, then sentenced to 25 years to life. For Etan's family, after nearly 4 decades, it was the closest thing to closure they had ever been given. Yet the haunting core of the case, the missing body and the contested confession, meant the questions never fully went away. What is beyond question is how profoundly this one little boy changed the world he left behind. Etan became one of the first missing children whose face appeared on milk cartons, staring out at families during breakfast across the country. The anniversary of his disappearance, May 25th, was declared National Missing Children's Day. His case helped launch an entire movement around child safety and helped create the National Center dedicated to finding missing and exploited children. A generation of parents grew more protective, and the carefree freedom Etan craved that morning became a thing of the past. That is the deepest tragedy of the Etan Patz story. A 6-year-old wanted nothing more than to walk a block and a half on his own, a tiny step toward growing up. That single walk ended a life, shattered a family, and reshaped how a whole country thinks about the safety of its children. His body was never found, and the boy in the pilot cap never came home. Decades later, his short journey down a SoHo street remains one of the most heartbreaking mysteries America has ever known. As a final note, the legal fight over the conviction continued for years. An appeals court threw out the verdict in 2025 over how the trial judge had instructed the jury, but in June of 2026, the Supreme Court stepped in and reinstated the conviction. Pedro Hernandez remains in prison to this day. Yet no ruling could ever truly close the wound at the heart of this case. This is a heavy subject, and stories like this stay with people. If revisiting a case like this ever feels like too much, it is always okay to step away and talk to someone you trust. To support careful, respectful coverage of cases like Etan's, tap that like button and subscribe. Dark Thread has more coming, so stick around.